I love this little girl's face, so I thought I'd grab it from Adobe Stock and play around. So I just decided to make her hair a little bit bigger, and I'm going to do this by liquefying it first. And once I finish making it all big and poofy, I'm going to cut it out and make another layer and then adjust it to suit this way. I think that looks pretty cool. Just going to clean up some flyaways, and yeah. That looks good. I have to clean it up around the edges though, because it doesn't look like it really belongs very much. And a little dark down here, add a little bit of a shadow. And the next thing that I'm going to do is probably just lighten the edges like this. Yeah, that's not bad. And the whole color of the hair looks ridiculous, so I'm going to have to adjust that as well. And trying to put it into the selected mask and see if this tool will work. It rarely does for me, but that's okay. Now I'm just going to use my smudge tool and push those edges all in on the mask, and that way it will get rid of those squirrely little white halo lines, which I hate. Now I'm just going to draw some additional hair in with my hairbrush because, well, it looks pretty crappy right now. Once I'm finished drawing in more hair, it's not going to look as bad. And yeah, I think that's starting to look a bit better, but I still need to fix that yucky color. I would like her to have more of a brown hair as opposed to this red stuff. More hair around the head, more hair around the bun. And that should help it look a little bit more realistic. Okay, let's adjust that color using an HSL slider. And yeah, invert that mask, paint it on. That looks so much better. I decided I wanted to use this dress because that yellow and the yellow necklace, not so good. This is cool. I used the Perspective Warp tool, and I'm just trying to line up the neck with our subject's neck, and it's a little difficult because it's not facing the camera the way she was, but I think I can make it work. Just going to use a basic paintbrush here, sample the colors, paint on some skin. Ooh, yeah, so her neck and chest don't match her head very good, but no worries, we'll make that happen. Gonna just clean up the mask here a bit like this. Yeah, that's good. Now I'm going to really focus in on making the face and the chest and neck look like they actually belong together. And once that's done, I can continue, but so far that looks pretty good. Need a little bit of light around the edges. I think it looks a little, there we go. That looks better. So much better. Now, we need to really adjust the masking around this this shirt dress thingy that I did, and probably need to pull it into Liquify and help it look more like a little girl's body as opposed to a woman's body. That looks good. A little bit of dodging and burning. Let's just make this fabric look a little bit more realistic, because right now it doesn't. Okay, I'm going to actually create a larger version of the dress because that one just looked too pixelated and gross. So now I have gigapixeled this image, and I'm going to do the same thing I did before, but this time I'm just going to select the actual top part of this image so that I don't have to do a mask, and now I can just overlay it, and I'm only going to paint on the details of this fabric so that it looks a little bit better than the first round did on the bottom. I do feel like this looks a little bit better, so I'm going to go with this. And back into Liquify, let's poof it up and make it look a little bit more interesting. Ooh, I made this image in Midjourney AI and I wanted to use it. So now I'm just going to try and match the color of our little girl to this background and figure out what I want to do with the background and our subject, combining them together. I'm going to go through a few different variations of trying to match her coloring to the backdrop. But I'm also going to really minimize that backdrop because I don't want it to be too much of a standout. So I just threw it into impressions, added a bit of gradient, and now I'm going to throw the whole thing into Topaz Impressions so that it has more of a painting look to it. Oh, I love impressions. It really does kind of blend everything together, especially during a composite. It's really nice for blending, especially if it's an imperfect composite, because then all you have to do is brush off your subject's face and voila, look, you have what's beginning to be a pretty cool looking little painting of a less than happy child. Now I'm going to really work on refining her face, controlling the direction of the light. So I'm going to add shadows around her mouth and on the tip of her nose, underneath her lips, and that really does make it look more dramatic and a little more painting-like. Still have to do some dodging. Let's see what that's going to look like. Okay, here we go. Oh, that looks better. Look at that. Dodging is definitely one of the best tools you can use if you want your images to stand out. And in this particular image, without the dodging, it really wouldn't have been as impactful as I think it turned out to be. So far, she looks pretty good. And now just adding more light around her, a little bit of light spillage on either side, and throw it into Glow. So that was Topaz Glow. Reduce it down to somewhere around 25% opacity, and now I'm just going to paint some jewelry onto her hair, and I will use a color dodge layer to really pop out the gems and make them look all glowy and pretty. And I think we're almost at the point where it looks the way that I expected to. I think that the jewelry could use a little bit more brilliance, so I'm going to focus on really adding some shine to each of the gems. So let's take a look at that. Now let's do this. That looks better, but I think it could get better. So let's add more shine to that jewelry and see what we get. Now we'll just adjust the edges so it looks like it's actually, you know, going around her head and not just planted on her hair. That looks good. And a little bit of tweaking here and there, and I think I'm almost done. Ended up reducing the opacity of the jewelry, and now I'm just going to add more of that color dodge so that it looks more like glowing jewelry on her head. That was really the only thing left that was kind of bugging me. I might throw it through impression again one more time. Let's just take a look at where we're at. Nope, I threw it into exposure. The film presets, I feel like, really did this painting more justice, and obviously I can pull it back into Photoshop when I'm done and reduce the whole opacity, make sure I get what I want, and throw a texture over. Yeah, texture really helps. Let's just take that off her. We can leave the texture on the hair and the body, but minimize it on the skin, and that should really help give it more of a painting look. Okay, this is looking pretty good. Let's adjust my levels and a couple color toning and selective color, add a little bit of a ethereal vignette.